Okay, so today's webinar will be covering your solar net energy metering, or NEM, billing options with EBCE. Just some reminders about the webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted to ebce.org/NEM afterwards. If you have questions throughout the presentation, you can use the Q&A tool at the bottom of the screen. And I have some coworkers online that will respond in real time. But we may cover your question throughout the presentation, so you may want to hold off until the end. Also, don't include any address or account-specific information in your questions. This is a public webinar and others will be able to see what you type in. So if you have specific questions about your account, you can contact us via phone or email. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. And also a reminder that this webinar will not discuss the recent NEM 3.0 decision that is in the news. For more information about this, you can listen to the item 12 presentation from our recent board meeting, which was on December 14th, 2022. And you can find a link to that meeting and the video at ebce.org/meetings. Okay, so I'll give a brief introduction about EBCE in case this is the first time that you're hearing about us. So EBCE, or East Bay Community Energy, is our local community choice power supplier committed to providing Alameda County and the city of Tracy with clean, green electricity at low rates. EBCE reinvests earnings back into the community to create local green energy jobs, local energy programs, and clean power projects. Technically, EBCE is a joint powers authority, which means we're a local government agency created by the cities and counties that we serve. So in this way, EBCE is similar to a school district, only instead of providing public education, we provide a public option for energy administered at the local level. So how does that work exactly with PG&E? So it's important to note that all EBCE customers remain PG&E customers for everything except the source of the electricity. EBCE is now the default electricity provider, and we procure renewable energy from natural resources like wind and solar, which is then delivered through PG&E's lines and wires to you, the customer. So the two services, power generation and power delivery, are billed separately on your PG&E bill. And PG&E gives customers a generation credit, which shows that they are no longer providing you generation service because EBCE has taken that over. So in short, PG&E continues to handle billing services and maintain the electrical grid, while EBCE provides customers with more renewable energy choices at lower rates. And EBCE does not provide gas service, just electricity. So EBCE has two different service plan options. We have Bright Choice, which is set at rates 3% below PG&E. And we have Renewable 100, which is 100% California-based wind and solar energy at 0.75 cents per kilowatt hour above PG&E rates. And our customers can switch between these two options whenever they choose. It may take 1 to 2 billing cycles for your change to show up on your bill. Customers can also choose to leave EBCE and be with PG&E for their energy supply. And now we will dive into NEM. So NEM, or net energy metering. EBCE NEM customers receive generation service from EBCE and delivery service from PG&E. So remember that you're both an EBCE and PG&E customer. And because you have these two different services, you have two different true-ups. So you have a PG&E delivery true-up, which is typically aligned with the interconnection or service start date of your system. And then you have an EBCE generation true-up, which is every April. EBCE and PG&E NEM customers both receive monthly credits at the retail rate and an annual cash out at the wholesale or net surplus compensation rate for any over generation. So EBCE and PG&E NEM is financially the same. And now I'll review the two different true-up methods, monthly and annual. So what is the difference? The main difference is the timing of when you would be billed for any energy that you consume from the grid that your panels do not produce. So with a monthly true-up, customers are billed for usage each month that they use. And customers receive credits for overgeneration each month, which roll over on your bill. And then you would receive payment for surplus generation every April. On an annual true-up, customers are not billed monthly for generation service. So both credits for net generation and debits for energy use roll over until the annual true-up in April. This means that customers on an annual true-up may owe EBCE for usage, or they may receive payment for overgeneration in April. And here you may be wondering, well, which is best for me? So if you get a large true-up bill from PG&E and you don't like that, then you may prefer to be on the monthly true-up where you can spread your payments out throughout the year. If you prefer to pay all at once, you may like the annual true-up. And if you are always overgenerating and you are never billed for energy, then it doesn't matter which one you select because you never have to pay us. So that brings us to our new policy update, which is that starting this month, EBCE NEM customers have the option to select an annual true-up for their EBCE generation charges. Currently, all EBCE NEM customers have been on a monthly true-up and they've had an annual cash out, which means that we pay for surplus generation every April. Another small update to our policy that will be effective in April is that we are removing an additional calculation that was performed at true-up, which aligned monthly and annual true-up outcomes. So the only financial difference here is that on a monthly true-up, if you overgenerate at the end of the EBCE NEM cycle, which would be around February, March, April timeframe, then your credits will get converted to your wholesale cash out. On an annual true-up, if you overgenerate at the end of the NEM cycle, those credits can be used to cover charges from previous months at the retail rate, which is the same rate that you pay for energy. Now we'll be removing this calculation as the annual true-up provides the same exact benefit. Also to note that E6 rate closed in December of 2022, and this was a rate that was highly favorable to solar customers. It valued electricity very highly during the middle of the day, which is when solar customers tend to overgenerate. So if you were an E6 customer, you may see your cash out value decrease. Okay, so if you already know what you want to do, you can make your true-up selection by March 1st. The default option will be monthly, so everyone is on a monthly true-up unless you select annual. You can select annual by going online at ebce.org/NEM and clicking click here to choose your true-up, or you can call us at 1-833-699-3223. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Or you can email us at customer-support@ebce.org. You may also be wondering how often you can change your true-up option, and your true-up option can be changed once a year. So every April, your selection would be effective. So you could change it at any time. You can go onto our website and fill out this form, but it won't be effective until the following April. Okay, and now I wanted to just go through an example of a customer and the difference between a monthly and annual trip. So this is a whole year of usage for this sample customer. And you can see in the net usage column, if it's a positive number, then they used energy from the grid. If it's a negative number, then they over-generated. So on the monthly trip, first in May, this customer used energy from the grid. And the monthly trip customer pays for that usage that month. So they are billed $30. The annual trip customer is just debited $30. So they have a negative $30 balance sitting on their account, but they never have to pay throughout the year. Then in June, July, August, September, October, and November, this customer over-generates. So you'll see that they have credits added to their NEM balance. The monthly trip customer first has a balance of $7.50 in June, and that grows all the way to $90 in November. The annual trip customer started with a debit of negative $30, and so that debit decreases, and then their balance turns positive, and in November, they have a $60 balance sitting in their account. Then in December, this customer uses energy from the grid in December and January. And you can see that the NEM balance then decreases as credits are taken from that balance to cover their charges. Same with the annual true-up, their balance decreases to $15. In February, they use energy again, and the monthly trip customer balance is now $0. The annual trip customer's balance goes to a negative $30. This indicates that they'll owe EBCE $30 at the end of the year. Then in March, this customer uses energy again, and the monthly trip customer has $0 in their balance, so now they're billed $22.50 for that month. The annual trip customer's debit just grows and is now negative $52.50. And in April, again, they're using some energy, so the monthly trip customer is billed $7.50, and the annual trip customer now has a negative $60 debit on their account. And now it's the cash out period. So the annual trip customer will be billed $60 for their usage throughout the whole year. The monthly trip customer paid $60 in May, March, and April. So they paid it throughout the year, the same amount. So this example, this is a net usage customer or net consumer. So they used 400 kilowatt hours throughout the year, which is a very small amount. If you use a lot more than that, you may see a much larger annual true-up bill in April. And here are some sample mock-up true-up bills. This is an example of a net consumer. Similar to that last example, they used more energy than they produced. So the annual true-up customer used about 8,000 kilowatt hours throughout the year. And in April, they're billed $652 for that usage. The monthly true-up customer also used about 8,000 kilowatt hours throughout the year. But here they're actually billed $0. They have paid for that usage throughout the year. And this last month, March through April, they actually over-generated. So they don't have to pay this month. and an example of a net generator, where the annual and monthly true-up bill would actually look the same. In this case, the customer over-generated about 1,000 kilowatt hours. And so we convert that into their cash out value, which is the wholesale value, and that converts to $53.78 for this customer. So that calculation is the same for the monthly and annual true-up customer, and they don't owe us any money. So here's a quick summary of the differences and similarities between a monthly and annual true-up. So both customers will get monthly credits at their retail rate for overgeneration, which roll over on your bill. Both customers will get an annual cash out at the net surplus compensation or wholesale rate per kilowatt hour for overgeneration, and that is in April. The annual true-up customer will receive an annual bill for the consumption of any electricity, while the monthly true-up customer would receive a monthly bill for the consumption of electricity if it is not covered by credits in their NEM balance. And both customers still have an annual true-up for their transmission and delivery charges with PG&E. And some FAQs. So again, how do I know if an annual true-up will benefit me? The main difference is just personal preference of when you would like to pay for energy consumption. If you would rather spread your payments out throughout the year or pay it all at once. Also, if you tend to overgenerate during the end of EBCE's NEM cycle, again, that's like February, March, April, and you had to pay for energy previous months, then you may benefit from an annual true-up because you can use those credits that you generate at the end of the year to cover previous months. 2, if I choose Renewable 100, will I generate credits at a higher rate? So yes, Renewable 100 customers pay for energy at the higher rate, 3/4 cent more per kilowatt hour, and they would also get credited at this higher rate for overgeneration. 3, I like paying an annual bill. Can I do that with EBCE? So yes, this annual true-up option now allows you to pay one annual bill for your EBCE NEM charges. 4, what is the difference between the generation credit and credits for surplus electricity generation? So all EBCE customers receive a generation credit from PG&E, and this indicates that PG&E is no longer providing you for generation service. The credits for surplus electricity generation are for the overgeneration from your panels, and that appears on the EBCE page of your bill and gets added to your NEM balance each month. Okay, so next steps. You can review your energy bills and decide if you want to stay with the monthly true-up plan or if you'd like to try the annual true-up plan. And if you decide on the annual true-up plan for this next year, then you can keep your bill handy and go to ebce.org/NEM and choose your true-up. You'll need your account number, name, and zip code to make this annual true-up selection. And that is the end of the presentation. I will open it up for Q&A and see if we've gotten some common questions. I see someone has raised your hand. I don't think that we are able to unmute people, so if you could type it in the Q&A, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, I have a, oh, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much, everyone, for asking these great questions. I haven't noticed any particular trends, although I will say there have been a couple of questions about PG&E and their delivery charges and the delivery portion of the bill. So everyone has to pay that minimum delivery charge to PG&E for that part of your service. Energy is both generation, whether it's energy that you're making yourself or energy that EBCE is making on your behalf, and the delivery charges. Delivery is how the electricity actually gets to your home. And there is a minimum delivery fee that PG&E assesses. It's usually about $10 a month. And that doesn't go away regardless of the method of true up that you choose with EBCE. And then we've also received a couple of questions about looking at what the total true up might look like at various points in time. And there will be a portion of the bill that indicates sort of where you are as far as like being positive or negative at that point in the year. So you will have a sense of what to expect. I would say if you are used to getting a large bill from PG&E for delivery charges at the end of the year, you would expect to see something similar from EBCE at the end of your true up time with EBCE. So the delivery and generation, they do flow, together. It's not possible to to really separate those two. So the trends are the same. So yeah, just keep on top of that. If you do have specific questions about the PG&E delivery service, I would recommend going directly to PG&E about that. Along those lines, I've gotten a couple questions right now that I'll just answer live. A customer is asking, if we choose annual for EBCE, will that change the PG&E transmission charges to annual too? Typically, PG&E does have most customers on an annual true up plan already. You may be able to select monthly with PG&E, but typically it is annual already. What we do on our end doesn't affect what's going on with the PG&E side. And then another question about PG&E here is that, are you seeing that PG&E has lowered the amount of the credit for overgeneration? I'll also take this one right now, and that is part of this NEM 3.0 or net billing. Yes, the PG&E, along with the other investor-owned utilities, are going to be changing some of those parameters in the coming year. Most of our customers will have a legacy period on the existing, what's called NEM 2.0 setup. I would keep an eye out for that. If you know that you've had your system for going on close to 20 years, then definitely keep an eye out to see. Or if you're thinking about, maybe you're at this webinar because you're considering adding solar, then definitely keep an eye out on what's going on with that new net billing. EBCE thus far has not determined what exactly our next billing system may look like if we're going to make any changes to how we handle our net energy metering customers. Okay, similarly, another customer is asking if switching between monthly and annual impacts any type of grandfathering between NEM 1, 2, and 3. And the answer is no, those are completely independent of each other. So in addition to whatever that means for, for on the PG&E side of the house, your choices with EBCE don't affect what PG&E might change. And similarly, if we do decide to adopt a net billing or NEM 3.0, it would be for customers regardless of their NEM true-up option. All right. Our other colleagues that are on the line, anyone seeing any common questions that they'd like to answer live here? I'm going to go back and type up some answers.
I can read through some of these questions.
Great.
Okay, let's see. For an annual trip plan, do the monthly statements only show an estimate of the charges or the actual balance? Or will the bill in April be a surprise? So for the annual trip plan, the NEM balance that shows up on your bill each month, that would be the amount that you would pay in April. If you have over-generated and you have a negative balance, then that amount gets converted to the wholesale cash out rate. And that is based on kilowatt hours, which is the surplus generation in kilowatt hours times the net surplus compensation rate. And we can put a link to that, those rates in the chat. Let's see. Someone says, I don't think we get paid at true-up, even though we always generate more than we consume. The first year I had to call and ask why, then I got a check. But since then, I've always forgotten to ask and suspect I don't get paid. So if you overgenerate, you can see on your bill in April, it would say the surplus generation in kilowatt hours. And if your cash out value is less than $100, it would just roll over on your bill as a credit. So that may be why you're not receiving a check. You can also call us and we can look specifically into your account.
Hey, this is Alex from EBCE. I saw a question here that I thought was interesting. It might be instructive for the group. So one question was, how does having a home charging EV2A rate plan compare with either Bright Choice or renewable energy? Thank you for that question, Kathy. So the EV2A rate plan is for customers who have a plug-in hybrid or electric vehicle that they charge at home. So that's a special rate that's available to those customers. The charges and the rates for EBCE's options, both Bright Choice and Renewable 100, those apply the same to all customer rate categories, including home EV charging. So it'll be the same with the EV2 rate plan and any net metering plan as it would be with all the other rate plans that we offer. If you're with Bright Choice, you will have a 3% discount compared to what PG&E's standard rates would be for their electric generation charges. And on the other hand, if you decide to opt up to Renewable 100, or you are in a jurisdiction where Renewable 100 is the default, you will pay a premium of 3/4 of a penny per kilowatt hour, which for the average residential customer usually comes to be about $5 more per month. But it does depend on usage. So the more you use, the more that premium will be for 100% California-based wind and solar energy. I know there are probably some EV charging customers out there, so I thought that might be of interest to them.
I have also seen some questions about switching between monthly and annual. And yes, you can switch as often as you like, but whichever selection is made before March 1st, the last choice that you made will be effective on April 1st. So if you have already chosen one and you want to switch back to monthly, for example, you can do that before March 1st. And you may try one out for a year and then decide you actually maybe prefer monthly, and so you can change that for the next year as well. And I'm also seeing a couple questions about Renewable 100 and if the credit is different. So yes, the credit is higher if you over-generate and you're on Renewable 100. The credit is higher by 3/4 of a penny per kilowatt hour. So slightly higher if you over-generate. Then you may prefer Renewable 100. And a question about if you were only with PG&E for both generation and delivery, how much would you get for over-generation? And they pay at the same net surplus compensation rate that we pay, which is the wholesale rate for energy. So it would be the same. And I think there's been a couple questions about like a charges for annual true-up. There's no charge to change to an annual true-up. It's just a different plan that you can choose. And no interest either. I saw a question about that. Do I need to select monthly or annual every year? No, whichever selection you've made will stay on your account unless you make a new selection. And yes, some questions about confusion. It is very complicated. And if you want to walk through your specific bills and your specific account, I would recommend calling our call center or emailing them, as they can actually pull up your bills and walk you through it together. Also some questions about people that are, getting a monthly bill for $10, but they're not sure what plan they're on. So currently all EBCE NEM customers are on a monthly true-up plan with us, but you are likely on an annual true-up with PG&E. And so that $10 a month bill is from PG&E, which is their minimum delivery charges. And then with PG&E, you may get a large bill at the end of the year with your PG&E true-up. But with EBCE, you would currently be on a monthly true-up.
Hi there, I'll help out with a couple more questions live. In responding to a customer who was wondering that they're not really sure what kind of plan they're currently on, because every month they get a bill for $10. And then at the end of the year, there's some sort of calculation of credit and debit, which sounds like annual, but they're being told that they're currently on monthly. I would encourage this customer to give us a call or send us an email, and also to look at your bill. It's possible that you're exclusively a PG&E customer, and that's why you're only seeing this annual sort of calculation. It's possible that someone else in your home, maybe someone else who's on the bill, has maybe returned you back to PG&E's service. If it's been over a year since that's happened, you're welcome to come back to EBCE anytime. You can do that by giving us a call at 833-699-3223. We have customer service reps that are available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. can also do that on our website as well. But if you're only seeing annual and you're never receiving a cash out from us or a bill from EBCE, it would be all in your PG&E bill. So it's also possible that if you're on auto pay, you're not seeing anything because maybe it's very small charges monthly from EBCE. And it's not something that you notice, particularly with gas prices being as high as they are today. It's possible that our charges are just sort of in the weeds. All right, so I'm seeing another NEM 3 question, and I would encourage you, this customer that's asking about NEM 3, to check out. Actually, Gabrielle, do you want to go back up to, I think it's the very top of your presentation. There was a meeting that has a really great overview. If you go to ebce.org/meetings and find the board meeting from December 14th, and you can listen to the item 12 presentation there. That information is great. It's about NEM 3.0 and sort of all of the details that we know right now. I also know that PG&E is going to be putting out more sort of customer-friendly as NEM can be. I know we've already talked about how this is confusing, but PG&E will be putting out some more customer-facing information about NEM 3.0. Sort of everything that's out there today is coming out of the California Public Utilities Commission, and so I would keep an eye out for information from PG&E about how they're planning to implement. And we'll also be updating our website with some FAQs about NEM 3.0, but we have not yet made a decision about implementing that to date. All right, we just have a couple more open questions here. I think we may have answered this one at the top here. Is the transition from monthly to annual one directional, or can customers go back to monthly afterwards? Just to review, you are welcome to return. You can select annual for the 2023 to 2024 sort of NEM season. And then if you find that, let's say you get a really big bill in April and you want to go back to monthly, then that next summer we'll open that up again for folks to make a change back to the monthly method. You can also make changes back and forth right now up until March 1. If you're not sure what you want to do, you can also go back and make changes today. If you're still trying to decide which is the best method for you. Okay, and we have another question. So I've only ever had one true up per year, so I'm still confused about the difference between EBCE and PG&E. Can you please address the difference? I think this is the customer who I did already address this one. This is a customer that may actually be served solely by PG&E, so that's why they're only seeing an annual true up. I have a question about EV charging equipment. EBCE today does not have residential charging equipment incentives. You may check to see if PG&E has any incentives, or BayRen, BAYREN.org. They may also have some incentives, but we do not have incentives for EV charging equipment today. Another question about, is there a specific rate plan to enroll in if we have a backup battery and also charge an EV? Well, congratulations on being very prepared. We're happy to see that. You can, it sounds like, if this is a relatively new system, then it's going to be really hard to tell what is the best plan for you. If you have a backup battery that you're going to be charging and discharging throughout the day, right, where you could discharge that battery during times of peak demand, I think there's a rate called ELEC, ELEC. You can call PG&E to check out that rate. Or if you're charging an EV, you can also go on the EB2A rate, which has lower pricing overnight when you might be able to charge your electric vehicle. Those rate changes, though, are handled through PG&E, through pgne.com. And I'll get you their phone number, because I believe right now, if you want to check out that ELEC rate, you do need to call to do that. And their phone number is 800-743-5000. Okay. Okay, we have another question here. We are planning to install an induction range as well as an electric water heater and an electric car charging outlet, and don't know what usage will be. Do we have to decide now? Oh, I think this customer is asking if they have to decide between monthly and annual today. And yes, for this next year. So I would encourage you to, if you haven't installed those yet and you are significantly over generating in the meantime, you can go ahead and select that annual option. And then let's say a year from now, you've made all those fantastic upgrades to your home, then you can switch to monthly, because maybe now your system is not over generating and you want to avoid a large bill at the end of the year. All right, I see two other questions here that are not being answered yet. Customer is asking, what is the lowest rate for EV? Is the lowest rate for EV charging between midnight and 3 p.m.? I would have to look at the rate table for that. And so I'm not sure. I think that there are some partial peaks in there between midnight and 3 p.m. I would encourage you to check out our rates at ebce.org/rates. You could also look at the tariffs on PG&E. And if you're actually already on the EV2A rate, if you look at the bottom of the first page of your bill, there's a little chart that shows sort of when rates are the highest. So you can find that out a couple of different ways. You can also give us a call or send us an email at customer-support@ebce.org, and we'll get you that answer. Okay. All right, I have another question about Renewable 100 versus Bright Choice. On the EBC page of my bill, I see an item Renewable 100, and then a few lines down, there's a rollover credit balance. Oh, and then there's Bright Choice is priced at 3% lower. Yes. So the bottom of everyone's bill says that Bright Choice is priced at 3% lower than PG&E's rates. The service that you want to look at is at the top of your the top of your bill. I think we have a sample bill, Gabrielle, that maybe we can scroll down to, or maybe you can go up to it. Right there. Yeah, so right here, this is a great example. Do you see where it says rate schedule underneath the date, and it says ETOUC? ETOUC is the tariff we were talking about. EV2A is another tariff that is used primarily by electric vehicle owners. ETOUC is the standard time of use residential rate. And then Renewable 100, and that's that rate schedule, ETOUC, that's for EBCE and PG&E, and that's what gives us the sort of time of days for off-peak winter and peak winter in this example. And then the Renewable 100 is the service plan that you're on with EBCE. So that would either say Renewable 100 or Bright Choice. In this case, this customer is on Renewable 100, and there also, you can see there's a Renewable 100 special line on the bill. This part at the bottom where it says Bright Choice is priced at 3% below PG&E rates. Everybody sees that on their bill, just as a little reminder about our lower priced service option.
Great, I think we have answered all the questions. Let me just put our contact info up again. So if you have any other questions, you can always give us a call or email us. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. I hope it was helpful. Oh, one more question. Okay, yes, I think that was just a response. And our solar NEM page is ebce.org/NEM, and the webinar will be posted there as well. Thank you. Good night.